Abeka compared to Christian Light. These two curriculums are my top two all-time favorite curriculums. We have used them both. We are currently using Christian Light Education, honestly, because we can't afford Abeka. Okay, let's say one day we eventually can afford Abeka. Would I even want to switch from Christian Light back to Abeka? I really don't know, because we love Christian Light so much now. But there are pros and cons to both, so let's talk about it. Like I said, Abeka is extremely expensive. It is probably the most expensive curriculum out there, but you get what you pay for. It is thorough, it is solid. Most top level private schools are using Abeka. The only reason we were able to use Abeka for the first grade school year is because I won an entire year of curriculum through Abeka at a homeschool convention, so I basically got to try it for free, and we absolutely loved it. But to continue using it, it was going to be very expensive. We're talking like almost $2,000 for a full school year, so it just wasn't financially doable for us. So we did switch to the entire end of the financial spectrum with Christian Light Education. It is the cheapest around, but again, Christian Light Education doesn't put as much money into their design and printing costs. This is just a paper booklet, not a lot of color, not super engaging, but one of the most thorough, academically sound curriculums I've ever used. So I'm willing to forgo the colored pictures and fancy workbooks. I'm fine with these. In terms of rigor, academic difficulty, I would say that Abeka and Christian Light are very similar. We used it for the first grade year, and then we switched to Christian Light Education and did first grade with Christian Light Education as well. They both have very similar teaching methods. They've both been around for a really long time. So they teach the old school way, but Abeka just looks more modern because they put more money into their design. Abeka can feel like a lot. For example, one math lesson, they teach the math lesson. If you're doing the online, they watch the video, and then they have quite a few workbook pages to do. And then there's homework assignments as well that you can kind of skip as a homeschooler, but they do include it in the curriculum because, again, private schools use Abeka. Christian Light can also feel like a lot as well, though. Each lesson in these light units is usually 4 to 5 pages when you get into this level 2, and it can feel like a lot. But both of these, Abeka and Christian Light, they're constantly going back and reviewing. They're both spiral curriculum, so your kid's not going to have gaps. They're not going to forget a bunch of stuff. Another big difference is that Abeka does have the online option, which we really like. This is where they watch a video lesson, but then they have a physical textbook and workbook that they work inside of as well, and that's really rare. Most online curriculums, the problem that I have with them is that they're just watching videos and answering online questions. Abeka was one of the few curriculums that you would watch the online portion for the lesson, but then go into physical workbooks for the independent work part, which I really liked. Christian Light, on the other hand, does not have any kind of online program to go with it at all. You as the teacher are solely responsible for all of the teaching using your teacher's guide, which the teacher's guide is very thorough and it will support you. You will do just fine with it. But if your schedule doesn't really allow for you to sit there and teach through all of these lessons, then Abeka is great because they have that online portion. Both of these are very heavily Christian curriculum. So I'm not talking about the Good and the Beautiful where they just sprinkle in a little bit of Christianity. I'm talking every single story that you're going to be reading is going to relate back to the Bible somehow. Even in the math curriculum, they'll use little biblical math stories and stuff. Both of the curriculums do this. I actually feel like Abeka is a little more heavy with it, but that's probably because we did the online where we were watching the video and the teacher was constantly praying and bringing up the Bible, so it might just feel different because it was a video. Both Abeka and Christian Light do have an accredited option. Most people don't know this about Christian Light, that they have an accredited option where you would submit your work to the accrediting body, and then your child could actually graduate with an accredited diploma. You can still get a homeschool diploma just fine without using an accredited curriculum, but when you do use accredited, it's an official accredited diploma. And you're going to pay more for the accredited version, both with Abeka and Christian Light, but because Abeka has that online option where they can take all their classes online versus Christian Light, you're actually doing everything in the book. Submitting your work for the accredited programs might look a little different. Abeka might be a little easier. In a perfect world, I would actually combine these two curriculums. So my dream is to be able to use Abeka for online science and social studies where my kids can watch the videos and do their little workbooks, and then use Christian Light for the reading, phonics, and math. When my daughter was doing the phonics with Abeka online, she absolutely loved it. And to this day, we're 2 years out now, she is still reciting phonics songs and rules that she learned when she did the Abeka online. So I know it stuck with her. And because both of these curriculums have such a similar way of teaching their math concepts and their phonics is almost identical. They both use the little symbols above the vowels. They introduce phonics rules in a very similar manner. And like I said, they both teach from that old school perspective. You really can't can't go wrong with either of these curriculums. If you can afford Abeka and you need that online aspect to kind of give yourself a break, go with that. You need something a little more affordable and you want to be the one doing all of the teaching, go with Christian Light. Or like I said, in a perfect world, combine them both.